most of you know, because Chris has made it very evident, that so we turned 40 this summer. Yay, 40. And to be honest, I have not dealt with it very well because it's the first age that I have like felt differently. Like it just don't feel good. Like things are hurting and stuff, you know? I had to order me a special pillow for my neck. I'm like, oh, this is where it goes, like downhill. I'm ordering special pillows and stuff, you know? I'm too old to be young and too young to be old. And so I'm literally right there in the middle. I thought it would be a great idea. My middle child, Emery, her all-star team, they had this great idea for adults to play against the all-star team. I was like, oh yeah, I got this. That's going to be fun, you know? Because in my mind, I'm still 20 and I'm still cool. Just don't ask my teenager. So I'm like, yeah, I can go. And my body said otherwise because, y'all, I pulled something in my toe. I'm like, how I pull something in my toe? I don't know. I'm 40. Chris is over here living his best life, just embracing his gray hair. And I'm having to, and passing 20 and 30-year-olds in CrossFit, and I'm over here pulling stuff in my toe and ordering special pillows. So when I really feel old is when I get around teenagers, all right? So I walked up in a group of teenagers like, ooh, Miss Megan, I'm feeling your drip. And I was like, does my drip want to be felt? Is that good? They're like, yeah, that's good. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling your drip. No, you can't say that. It sounds weird when you say it. I'm like, but I want to say cool stuff too. We were in the living room with my teenager and one of her friends, and, you know, sometimes this happens in our house. Like, something came on the television, and Chris, like, taught, like, a little mini sermon, you know, right then, use it as a teachable moment, and her friend looks over at her and says, POV of a pastor's kid. And I'm like, what's POV? And they're like, Miss Megan, it's point of view. And I'm like, oh, that's what that means. So in youth ministry, I used to know all the cool hip lingo because we were in youth ministry and you just kind of catch on. These are your people. This is who you hang out with, teenagers, all the time. So we were in youth ministry for about 8 years, and we used to do this thing called lock-ins. Whose idea was it to have a lock-in with a bunch of teenagers and you just hang out and do stuff like sports till 3 o'clock? It was crazy. Anyways, we ended up getting a little smarter, and we had a lock-in, but we ended it at midnight, okay? So they come, we do all the fun stuff, but then they leave. We don't spend the night there. Well, this particular night, y'all have heard this story before, but only from Chris's POV, all right? Not my POV. And I ended up going home early because Adeline was a baby, so I went and took her and laid her down. I ended up falling asleep also. And it was around 1 o'clock or so, and I got scared awake, all right? I was hearing something happening down in the hallway. It sounded like wrestling, okay? You know when you wake up and you're so afraid and you can hear your heartbeat? Like it was like, wah, 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 and I'm hearing wrestling happen. I'm like, okay, Chris is not here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So then our room is at the very end of the hall, and I'm hearing this going on up there. So I just kind of peep around the corner, just a little bit. And I was a little relieved because I did see Chris, but I was super confused because this is what I see, okay? Full visual. He's wearing sleeping shorts, hunting boots, like camo hunting boots up to his shin hunting boots, and he's got a Swiffer sweeper. I've never seen this man with a Swiffer sweeper in his life, so I'm super confused, okay? Like, what are we doing? It's 1 o'clock, boots, Swiffer sweeper, sleeping shorts, what's happening? So I'm like, and he got that psycho whisper thing going, so he's like, I got a snake. I got a snake. And I'm like, is it an anaconda? I mean, he's got like a death grip on that Swiffer sweeper, y'all. And he's like, I need a knife. I need a knife. And I'm like, okay. So I go swiftly, slowly, really, because I'm still trying to figure out what's happening here. And so I find the first knife that I saw, and I bring it to him. And he's like, a butter knife? I don't want to make him toast. I want to cut his head off. Like psycho, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I run to the kitchen. I did run that time because he's yelling. No more psycho whisper anymore. And so I go get a real knife. And by the time I come back, y'all, he used that butter knife and the head is off, okay? He cut the snake's head off with a butter knife. So, like, he was underestimating the butter knife, but that thing worked, all right? So he defeated the enemy with some hunting boots, some sleeping shorts, a butter knife, and a Swiffer sweeper, which he had never used in his life, may I add. And what I have come to find out is God likes to use unlikely people, unlikely things to bring him glory and fight an enemy in your home, where you are. Now, okay, this side note, y'all, that snake was like, oh, it was like this big, anaconda, okay, come in. So let's talk about this, because God likes to use unlikely people and unlikely things. Samson used a donkey's jawbone to strike down thousands. Shamgar defeated the Philistines with an ox goad. David used a sling and a stone to fight off a giant. We've all heard that story. Moses parted the sea with a stick. A stick. Gideon confused an army with some clay pots and some candles. That's one of my favorite stories. If y'all haven't read that, y'all got to read that. The title of today's message is God Uses the Unlikely. I'm going to pray before we get into today's message. Lord, I pray, God, that you would use me as a mouthpiece. I pray that you would use me as an anthem, God, to talk to the hearts in this place, Lord, that your word would penetrate their heart, that you would give them ears to hear and a heart to receive exactly what it is that you would have, Lord. I pray that they wouldn't hear me, but they would hear you. Ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Some of you have been asking, Lord, how do you want to use me? What is my purpose? You feel like you may have just started this thing and you're like, okay, like, how am I going to be used? I need to find my place. And if you've been walking with the Lord for any amount of time, you know that he's going to ask you to do some uncomfortable things. He's going to ask you to do some things that's going to cause you to get outside of your comfort zone. Like me today. This is not my wheelhouse. I do not like this. He loves it. He's like, yeah. I'm like, it's hard. I have to fight everything physical in me, okay, to get up here. So I remember starting in youth ministry. It was our first service, and Chris gets done with the message, and he says, and I quote, all of my youth leaders are going to come up to the front, and if you have any needs and you would like prayer, you can come up and they're going to pray with you. I'm like, who coming up to pray? I ain't never prayed with nobody out loud in my life. I mean, you think that I should have thought, like, I'm the youth pastor's wife, you're gonna have to pray with people. But at this time, I had never done it, y'all. I know. Like, I wasn't trained in this, you know? I'm just getting tossed out and sink or float, baby. Like, let's go. And so I walk up, I'm like, what am I gonna pray? I don't know. Okay, I'm here. So then kids start coming, I pray over them. I remember praying like the most, like, I don't know, infant prayer, all right? And this little girl started crying, and I just loved on her and prayed with her. And afterwards, she was like, thank you so much. I needed to hear exactly what you said. Because God is sovereign. God can use you when you're not ready. He can use you if you're willing. You do not have to be ready. You just have to be willing and say, Lord, use me. Go with me to the book of Judges. All right, y'all. So the book of Judges, Y'all, this is a crazy book. They got some crazy stories in the book of Judges. Okay, this is not where you're going to go and you're going to stand up in the cafeteria and begin preaching and win all your friends to Jesus, okay? It's not one of those books. If they made a Netflix series on this story that we're about to read, it would be rated TVMA and we would not be able to watch it. Side note, you shouldn't be watching TVMA or plus 16 or R, okay? That's total side note there. All right, in Judges, we're going to read about a woman who was overlooked. She was underestimated. She felt unheard. She felt like she was not where she wanted to be. She saw somebody else where she thought she needed to be, but God had her right where she needed to be. The Lord called her to do something that made no sense. She had no training whatsoever, but she was willing to do what he called her to do. Anybody heard the story of Jael? Jael is my girl, okay? If you've heard the story of Jael, just wave at me. Okay, a few, all right, awesome. All right, so I love to look up the meaning of names. Do you know the meaning of your name? Some of you know the name. You need to go look up the meaning of your name, because it really is cool how it really does depict who you are. Your name has a meaning. So I love to look up meanings of people's names. So I was like, Jael is a sweet name. Like, I'm going to go look up her name. And so y'all get this. The meaning of Jael is this. Are you ready for it? Mountain goat. I was like, wow, that's powerful. Mountain goat, man. Okay, so I had to do a little bit more digging because, it's got to mean something, right? So this is what a mountain goat represents and are known for. Mountain goats are one of the most powerful animals because of their strength, okay? They can literally go on any terrain. They can go up any side of the mountain, like literally a mountain like this, because they have these dew claws in their hoofs, and they can go up like Spider-Man. They can go up like Spider-Man, all right, on the side of the mountain. They also have super thick skin and super thick fur that they can sustain 100-mile-per-hour winds, okay? So mountain goats are pretty sick. All right, they're pretty sick. Her name also comes from a root word meaning to be valuable, to be useful, to benefit, or profit. And she definitely lives up to her name. But before we talk any more about Jael, I have to give y'all like the backstory, okay? So you know like what is happening before we just jump into the story. All right, so this is what's happening. The Israelites are in disobedience again. It's like a generational thing or something, when they don't handle it, they pass it down. So they're walking in disobedience again. They're under the rule of King Jabin, who are the Canaanites, and they have been oppressed for like 20 years. All right, so finally, they get sick of it. They realize who they are in Christ or something. They're like reminded. And they begin to cry out to the Lord. And the Lord gives a prophetess who the Israelites look up to a word. And she goes to Barak. I always say his name wrong. That's how I'm going to say his name. His name is Barak. He is the commander of the Israelites. And she goes to him and she said, the Lord told me that he wants to hand over the Canaanites to you. But you have to do A, B, and C. Essentially, like you're going to have to be obedient in it. And he's going to hand over this army to you if you do this. And he's like, okay, sister. So do you know that I only have 10,000 men? Like we only got 10,000. But the Canaanites, the commander of Sisera, they have 40,000 men and they have 900 iron chariots. Okay, that's like 900 tanks. Okay. And he's like, are you sure that the Lord said that? I'm like, dude, see, this man's having trouble hearing from a woman. He's not really taking on to what she's saying here. And so she says it again. The Lord has said, if you do A, B, and C, he will hand over the Canaanites to you. So he gets smart. He listens to the voice of Deborah, and he gets his 10,000 men, and he starts moving, and Sisera, the commander, gets wind of it, and he's like, oh yeah, anybody's ready for a battle, come on. So they start moving towards one another, and guess what happens? Exactly what the Lord said, all right? He literally hands over the Canaanites to him. They are smashing their heads, essentially, okay? They're crushing the army. So that's where we are. Judges 4:16. Barak pursued the chariots and army, and all Sisera's troops fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, meanwhile, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber, the Kenite, because there was an alliance between King Jabin and the family of Heber. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid." So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a rug. We're going to get back to that. A rug. "I'm thirsty," he said. That's my man voice. Okay. Chris loves it when I do my man voice. "Please give me some water." She opened a skim milk, gave him a drink, and covered him up. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," he told her. "If somebody comes by and asks you, 'Is anyone there?' say no." But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg. Homegirl picked up a tent peg, walked quietly over to him, and she put that tent peg in his temple. And then the Bible says, and then he died, just in case you were wondering. Like, just in case you thought maybe he lived through that. He didn't. He died. That's what it says. So, let's lay out the facts of this story, okay? So, Jael is a housewife. She has some sort of insignificance, okay? She basically, all she does is her job as she takes care of the tent. She puts the tent up and she waits around for the men to come and she makes sure they're taken care of, all right? And the enemy thought that he could come in her house and that he thought he could stay in her house, but he definitely underestimated her, because the first place that the enemy will try to come in is in your home. When he can't get to you, he will try to attack you and your family and the people that you love the most. And so when the enemy comes in, that's when you realize and you know whose you are, and you take authority in your home. So what did she do? She gave him a rug to cover up with. Okay, first of all, if I come to your house and I'm cold, which is always, and you give me a rug, y'all, I'm like, I am not wanted. We are not friends. Like, I am leaving. Like, you don't have to say anything else. Like, you just gave me a rug. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. Like, peace. But he didn't know. He was dumb. And you know what? The enemy's dumb too. Because he keeps using the same thing over and over and over in your life, and you keep letting him. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different outcome, because he keeps using the same stuff, okay? So the rug for me represents sweeping things under the rug, all right? And we have a tendency to do that. We have a tendency to sweep things under the rug when it comes to conflict. We would rather just, I'm not going to deal with it. You're going to talk about it to everybody else and their mama, but you're not going to go deal with it with the person that you really need to sit down and talk to them about. Don't sweep it under the rug. Go to the source. Go to the person. Yeah. Sin, shame. We have a tendency to just sweep it under the rug and hope that it goes away. We have a tendency to keep those apps in our phone that you know you need to delete. You continue to send those messages to that person through Snapchat, thinking that nobody else will see. Sweeping it under the rug, hoping that it will go away or hoping that it stays hidden. Maybe it's somebody else needs you to stand in the gap for them. Our children. We cannot just casually stand by. We have given them devices and we just let them take it up to their room. Take it to their room. Just a little boundary that we set is don't allow your kids to take their phones to their room. Like, make that like a boundary. They don't need their phone to wake up in the morning. You can go to Walmart and get them an alarm clock, just like we grew up with, okay? Their phones can stay in the kitchen. They don't need their cell phone all the time, every time. You have to help them. You have to do your due diligence as their parents to not allow them to have hidden things that they keep falling into. The enemy loves when we struggle in silence. He loves when we cover up things. He loves when we act like we're okay when we are not. He loves when you struggle with depression and then you don't speak up or you act like you're okay. He loves when you continue to isolate yourself, when you need to call and reach out to somebody that can stand in the gap for you. We can't keep doing the same things, expecting a different outcome. We can't allow us to just continue to sweep things under the rug. The Lord shows you things in yourself. The Lord shows me things, and I'm like, I was ugly. Lord, why are you talking to me like that? You know, does he talk to you that way? Like he just shows you things? You're like, oh. Like I like to just not deal with things. I'm one of those like just stick my head under in the sand, just act like I don't see it. That's me. Like I have to be pushed to deal with conflict. I have to be pushed to do hard things because I know that it's healthy too. I don't like it either, but I know that I have to do it. Is there anybody else the I'll deal with it later people? There's a bunch of liars up in here too. The I deal with it later peoples. Yes. Okay. So this is an example of you don't just deal with things later, okay? So we were remodeling our bathroom. They took out everything. There's this big giant hole where the toilet was, okay? And we had to use the toilet down the hallway. And I flushed the toilet and I heard bloop, bloop, bloop. And I was like, well, that's strange. I don't think it's supposed to make that noise. Oh, well. So I just went about my day, started doing dishes, and I heard the same bloop, bloop, bloop. Did I call Chris? Did I call a plumber? I just went about my day back into Megan land, being distracted by all the other things. And I don't know if it was like later on during the day or later on that night or later on in the week. I'm not sure the time frame, but I walked into our master. I know it was at night. And I stepped into our master and there was water all in the room. And I start screaming, Chris, there's water! So he runs in and y'all, there from the poopy hole, from the toilet hole, there's like coming up sewage water, y'all. It does not smell good. Into the bathroom, all in our master. He calls the plumber, has it on FaceTime. What do I do? Puts on those fancy boots again and runs outside. He opens the clean out. The water goes down, but we have a huge mess because of something that I didn't deal with. Like the Lord was trying to expose it and trying to tell me like, hello, there's a problem. But I was just like, oh, it's fine. It'll handle itself. That's what we do with junk in our life. And we can't, because what will happen if we don't deal with it? The people that we live with, the people that we love the most are gonna have to suffer. Because when Gabriel walked in and saw that water, y'all, he thought we were going down like the Titanic. He started crying. I mean, it like just escalated real quick when Gabriel walked in the room. Because when we don't deal with it, we allow others to suffer along with us. Judges 4:19, he asked for water because he knows that water refreshes, revives, and strengthens. But something that you cannot do for the enemy is give him what he wants. You never, ever give him what he wants. He wants you to be distracted and question the voice. He wants you to listen to all the other noise and not God's. He wants you to walk in defeat over the things that God has given you the authority to walk over. He has given you authority to walk over depression. He has given you authority in your home. He has given you authority in your marriage. He has given you authority for your children. It's you knowing who you are and realizing that you have the same authority that raised Jesus from the dead. It lives inside of you. And so understanding that. But he wants you to think, I'm not good enough. I can never do that. He wants you to stay trapped in your sin and your shame. So instead, what'd she do? She gave him some milk. What does milk do? He put the baby right to sleep, right? She knew exactly what she was doing. What do y'all say? Tied him to sleep. She just tied him right to sleep and sang him a little lullaby. In verse 20, he says, if anyone asks if I'm here, say no, because the enemy does not want to be exposed. He does not want to be exposed. He wants you to act like you're totally fine when your life is falling apart. He wants you to think that your family is always going to be like they are. He wants you to think that you're always going to feel this way. He wants you to believe the lie that you're always going to be the way that you are, or you're always going to deal with the same things over and over and over again. When things are brought to light, the enemy cannot work in the light. He can only work in the hidden places. So when you bring it to light, he can no longer have authority in that area. That's why you have to bring it to light, surrender it to God, and bring somebody along to help you walk in victory in those areas. She knew how to use what God had given her. A tent peg was her responsibility. She knew how to use it. I don't know how to use this thing. This thing is so heavy. If I'd be like, hold this, do this, and I would miss it probably and hit my finger. But she knew exactly how to use it. It is what God had given her. And she knew, she looked at him and he's like, that looks like ground to me, baby. And she knew how to use what she had. I know you're thinking of people right now that you like to use a tent peg on. But may I remind you, this is a spiritual battle. Okay, our battle is not against flesh and blood, all right? But the principalities, people are not our enemy, all right? The enemy is our enemy, all right? Your spouse is not your enemy. If you feel like you are in a fight for your marriage and the word divorce has come up, you need to realize you are in a battle right now, okay? For your marriage, for your spouse. You may be fighting for their soul. You may be with an unbeliever. I don't know what your situation is. I'm talking to somebody right now. God is telling you to engage in the battle, take up your tent peg, and you are ready to take authority in this area. The tent peg held everything together. Y'all, she took one of the tent pegs that were already in the ground on one of the sides. She knew the whole tent may fall on this side. But I'm willing to take the risk because I know what God has called me to do. God may be asking you to take a risk. He may be asking you to do something that seems impossible. Asking you to forgive somebody that's unforgiving. He may be asking you to love someone that's unlovable. He may be asking you to do some things that are really uncomfortable, or somebody's hurt you and he's asking you to do something for them. No, why would I do that? It's going to hurt. It's going to not feel good. Believing for something that seems impossible, walking in obedience when it's uncomfortable, maybe standing in the gap for somebody that's living in a homosexual lifestyle. You engaging in the battle for them, speaking to them in a loving manner where they know that you are for them and you're battling with them. God is asking for you to engage. He's asking you to engage in the battle because he's put things inside of you on purpose for a purpose. There's people in your life that need you. There's people that need you right now. You're thinking of them, that they don't know how to battle for themselves and they need your giftings and your voice to speak life into them. Maybe you're in a battle and you need somebody to speak life into you. Then you need to go to somebody. You need to not try to fight this battle on your own. Here's what we need to know from Jael. Number 1, she staked her claim. Jael silenced, disarmed, disempowered the enemy with one blow with her own God-given talents. Things that she didn't think were important. She refused to stay safe and comfortable. She was very strategic. She was willing to take a risk. She knew what she was fighting for, and she knew that it was worth it. And she was willing to do whatever it took to defend her home. Number 2, she used what she had. My favorite part about this story is that she destroys the enemy with some household items, y'all. As a woman who managed her home, this is what she was familiar with. If you're not familiar with the weapons that God has given you, how in the world will you ever defeat an enemy? If you're not familiar with praying with somebody out loud, practice. If you're not familiar with God's word, study. Okay? If you don't know the gifts that God has put into you, ask somebody close to you. I bet they can tell you your strengths. I bet that they can begin calling things out of you and you beginning to believe what they see in you. Because really, it's just an identity crisis because you don't know who you are. And you don't see yourself the way that God sees you. So you begin to allow doubt and things that people have said over you. That becomes your identity. And so God wants to flip that, and he wants you to realize whose you are and the authority that you get to walk in. But really, it's just going to be you saying, okay, I'm ready. I'm willing. I will engage in this battle, and I will take authority. So you realizing whose you are. Each and every one of you have a specific gift, but I wonder how many weapons are just lying around unutilized because you have simply overlooked them or you don't understand their significance. God used a housewife and her utensils to defeat an entire army. Stop selling yourself short because you are comparing yourself to other people and their gifts. See yourself the way that God sees you, and where you are, where your feet are planted right now, whatever your situation is right where God has you on purpose for a purpose. It's just are you going to use what God has given you to fight whatever battle you're in? Maybe it's in your school. Maybe it's in your home. Maybe you're constantly fighting the atmosphere in your home and you're trying to flip it. Whatever it is, your feet are planted. God has gone before you. He's given you victory. You don't have to fight you don't have to fight for victory. You get to fight from victory because he's already won. So I'm trying to get that in your spirit today. Number 3, Jael engaged in the battle. She did not give a foothold for the enemy in her home. She did not give him an inch. She dealt him a death blow. She did not put her hand in the sand and become lazy, apathetic, and complacent. She said, B, I'm about to take authority in my home. You will not stay. She did not sit back idly. Most people get defeated because this is what they do. Lord, will you take care of this for me and take care of this for me? And the Lord is saying, I'm not going to do for you what I've called you to do for yourself. And so making sure that you are doing what God's called you to do. There's people in here that God has already told you to do some things and you haven't even done the first thing and you're asking him, what else? And he's like, I'm telling you to go back and do what I told you to do first. Then I'll give you your next step. So we have to be listeners of his word and doers, not just listeners. We take action. We engage in the battle. I'm going to say that over and over again. Because if you never engage, you won't have victory. You cannot retreat, though. Do not retreat. A lot of people say, I'm willing, I'm going to engage, I'm gonna pick up my tent peg, but then you retreat when it gets hard or when it gets uncomfortable or when people start saying things or doing things or things that you don't like, you retreat, or when it gets really hard. The Lord is saying, rise up. You have a warrior spirit inside of you because you are mine. I put that in you. You need to rise up and be reminded of whose you are today. Pick up your tent peg and let's go. just like JL did. She took the authority. She completely disarms the enemy of God's people and brings freedom and deliverance for them. And some of you today need freedom and deliverance from things that you continuously trip over and over and over again, and you have believed the lie of the enemy that this is just how it's going to be. And I'm here to tell you, no, you can have victory. You can put that tent peg in that and have freedom and deliverance in that area. So I want to pray for you for freedom and deliverance, for those that need freedom and deliverance. If you're dealing with health issues, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, I want you to pick up your tent peg and I want you to claim victory in that area. If you're in a battle for your marriage, if you're in a battle for your children, if you're in a battle for somebody that doesn't even know how to engage in the battle for themselves and you need to stand in the gap for them, I want to pray with you. I want you to pick up your tent peg and we are going to take authority. There's some people in here that have never surrendered their life to Christ. Or maybe you thought you did, but your life does not look like you did. You look like everyone else. I want to pray for you. There has to be a time where you say, Lord, I don't want it my way anymore. I'm sick of doing it my way. I want what you have for me. I want to use the giftings that you've put into me. So I want to pray with you to receive salvation today where you truly surrender your life. So church, I want you to help me right now. Let's pray. Lord, I pray right now for those that are in the midst of a battle, whatever it may be. Maybe it's their finances. Maybe it's their marriage, God. Maybe it's at their work. They just feel like they're just completely spent. That every time they turn around, Lord, that they feel like they're being attacked from every angle. But I pray, Lord, that today they would surrender that and they would know that you've already gone before them, that they get to fight from victory, Lord, because they've already won and that you are writing their story, Lord. I pray, God, that your word would penetrate their heart today and that they would truly walk in that warrior spirit that you have given them. I pray for those that need to receive salvation this morning. I pray, God, that they would completely surrender their life to you, God, that they would crucify their old, Lord, and they would allow your blood to cover them in every area where they say, not my will, but yours. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hey, if you just committed your life to Christ, or maybe you recommitted your life to Jesus, listen, we want to celebrate with you and connect with you. The best way that we do that is through a text. Would you text I believe to 84576? It is as simple as that. Again, that's I believe to 84576. We have a team standing by that would love to connect with you. They want to celebrate with you. In fact, we even want to pray with you. All you have to do is go to our website, eunischurch.com, or you can download our church app, New Hope Eunice. Either way, we have a prayer request tab that you can fill out right there that goes directly to our team and our staff. And we would love to start this journey with you, connecting with you and celebrating with you. While you're on that, check out all of our events that we have going on here at New Hope. Man, join a small group, sign up for Next Steps, and we can promise you this, that this will be your church home and you can find a place here. Before you go, simply open up your hands like I'm handing you a gift, and please let me pray a special blessing over you right now. God, I pray, Lord, for every person watching, that you would bless your people. God, that you would shine your face upon us and be gracious to us. Lord, lift up your countenance upon us and give us your peace. And help us, Holy Spirit, to anoint us and to accomplish the vision that you have given us here at New Hope, and that is to meet people and grow closer to you together. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Thank you again for watching, and stay tuned for anything and everything that we have going on here at New Hope. God bless.